The ship was bigger than the moon. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station and watched it block out the stars. She had served in the United Earth Navy for 20 years. She had seen wonders that would make ancient humans weep with joy, but she had never seen anything like this. The alien vessel hung in the darkness like a metal god. Its surface was covered with patterns that glowed soft blue. Smaller ships surrounded it like fish around a whale. Each of those smaller ships was larger than anything humanity had ever built. "They call it the Eternal Mandate," said Admiral Rodriguez, standing beside her. His voice was quiet. "Our sensors cannot even measure its full size." "What do they want?" Sarah asked. The Admiral did not answer, but his face told her everything she needed to know. 3 days later, the aliens came to Earth. The United Earth Council met in the Great Hall of the Global Assembly. Leaders from every nation sat in their seats. Cameras broadcast the meeting to every screen on every human world. 12 billion people watched and waited. The alien delegation entered through the main doors. There were 7 of them. They walked in a way that seemed wrong to human eyes. Too smooth. Too perfect. Like they had practiced walking for 1,000 years. The leader was the tallest. It was made of crystal. Light moved inside its body like slow fire. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere at once. "I am Ambassador Zethkal of the Valorian hegemony. I speak for the Council of 47 Worlds. I speak for the empire that has ruled this arm of the galaxy for 300,000 years." The hall was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. "We have watched your species," Zethkal continued. "You are young. You discovered faster than light travel only 80 years ago. You have spread to 12 star systems. You breed quickly. You think strangely. You create things that should not be possible." The crystal being paused. The light inside it pulsed. "This makes you dangerous." Secretary General Elena Vasquez rose from her seat. She was 60 years old. Her hair was gray. Her eyes were sharp and clear. She had led humanity through 3 crises already. Now she faced the greatest one of all. "Ambassador," she said, "humanity means no harm to your hegemony. We only wish to live in peace." "Peace is not your choice to make," Zethkal replied. "We have studied your history. We know what you are. You fight each other constantly. You destroy your own world, then fix it, then nearly destroy it again. You cannot even agree among yourselves. How can we trust you among the stars?" Elena kept her voice calm. "We have changed. We are united now. Unity can break. Species can regress. We have seen it happen many times." The alien moved closer. It was twice as tall as any human in the room. "We have come to offer you a choice. It is the same choice we have offered to 217 species before you." "What choice?" "Submit to protectorate status. Your planets will be redistributed to species that can use them properly. Your population will be managed to sustainable levels. Your military will be dissolved. Your technology will be limited to what we approve. In exchange, you will be granted the privilege of continued existence." The hall erupted. Leaders shouted. Some jumped to their feet. The noise was chaos. Elena raised her hand. Slowly, the room fell quiet. "And if we refuse?" she asked. Zethkal made a sound that might have been a laugh. "No species has ever refused. Those who considered it were shown what happens to species that resist the hegemony. They chose wisely after that." "Show me." The alien tilted its crystal head. Then it raised one long arm. A hologram appeared in the air above the assembly. It showed a planet, green and blue, like Earth. Beautiful. Then the hologram changed. Ships surrounded the planet. Light fell from them like rain. When the light stopped, the planet was gray, dead. Nothing lived on its surface. Nothing would ever live there again. "This was Kareth 7, Zethkal said. "They refused. Now they are a memory, a lesson. You may join them, or you may submit. The choice, as I said, is yours." Elena stared at the dead world. Her face showed nothing, but her hands, hidden behind her podium, were shaking. "I need time," she said. "I must consult with my people. Of course, you have 72 hours. I will await your answer aboard my ship." The alien turned to leave. Then it paused. "I have done this many times, Secretary General. I know how it ends. You will argue. You will weep. You will rage against the unfairness of the universe. And then you will submit, because the alternative is death. Save yourself the trouble. Accept your place in the galaxy. The aliens left. The doors closed behind them. The hall exploded into noise again, but Elena Vasquez was not listening. She was already walking toward a private exit. Admiral Rodriguez followed her. So did Captain Chen and 6 others. They moved quickly through secret corridors that most people did not know existed. They entered a room deep beneath the assembly hall. The walls were thick metal. The door sealed behind them with a hiss. "Protocol Prometheus," Elena said. "Is it ready?" Admiral Rodriguez nodded slowly. "It has been ready for 30 years. Since first contact. We always knew this day might come. Then activate it. All of it. Every sleeper cell. Every hidden shipyard. Every secret weapon we have kept buried." Elena's voice was steady now. The shaking was gone. "They think they know us. They think they have seen species like us before. They are wrong. Ma'am," Captain Chen said carefully. "They have 300,000 years of experience. They have conquered 200 species. Their fleet is. We cannot even count their fleet. We have 12 systems. They have 2,000. The math does not work. The math never works for us." Elena turned to face them all. Her eyes burned. "We survived ice ages, when we were nothing but clever monkeys with sharp sticks. We survived plagues that killed half our population. We survived wars that could have ended us a dozen times. We split the atom, nearly destroyed ourselves. And then we reached for the stars anyway. We are not a species that does math, Captain. We are a species that does the impossible because no one told us we couldn't." She pressed a button on the table. A hologram appeared. It showed all 12 human systems, and hidden among them, in asteroids and moons and empty space, it showed something else. Ships, thousands of them. Weapons, facilities, an entire shadow military that no alien sensor had ever detected. "Send the message," Elena said. "Send it to every human being on every world. Tell them what the aliens want. Tell them what happens if we refuse. And then ask them one simple question." "What question?" Admiral Rodriguez asked. Elena smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had made peace with what was coming. "Ask them, will you kneel?" The message went out. 12 billion people heard it. They heard about the alien fleet. They heard about the dead worlds. They heard about the choice. And from every city on every planet, from space stations and mining colonies and ships traveling between stars, the answer came back. It came in a million voices, speaking 1,000 languages, but it was all the same word. Never. 72 hours later, Ambassador Zethkal received humanity's response. Secretary General Vasquez appeared on his view screen. Behind her, he could see the United Earth Council. They were all standing. Their faces were hard. "Ambassador," Elena said, "humanity has consulted. We have our answer. I expected as much. You may begin the surrender protocols when ready. There will be no surrender." Zethkal paused. The light inside his crystal body flickered. "I do not understand." Elena leaned forward. "We did not crawl out of the mud. We did not survive ice and fire and ourselves. We did not reach the stars just to kneel before you. You want our worlds? Come and take them. But know this. Every inch of space you take will cost you more than it is worth. Every world you capture will burn in your hands. And every human you kill will be avenged by 10 more. She smiled again. That same terrible smile. "We are humanity, Ambassador. We do not surrender. We never have. We never will. And if we must die, we will make sure the galaxy remembers our name forever." The transmission cut, and in that moment, the greatest war the galaxy had ever known began. Ambassador Zethkal stared at the blank screen where the human leader had been. For a long moment, he did not move. The other diplomats in the room looked at each other. They had never seen their leader confused before. "Did she just threaten us?" asked one of the junior ambassadors. It was a small creature with too many eyes. "Did a species that has existed for less than a heartbeat just threaten the hegemony?" "She did." Zethkal's voice was strange. The light in his crystal body moved faster than usual. "Contact the fleet. Tell them to prepare for standard pacification procedures. We will show these humans what happens to species that forget their place." He never finished giving the order. Every light on the ship went dark. Every screen turned off. Every engine stopped. In the perfect silence that followed, Zethkal heard something he had not heard in 1,000 years, the sound of his own fear. Across the human solar system, 340 hegemony warships went dead at the same moment. They drifted in the darkness like fallen leaves. Their crews floated helpless inside them. Their weapons would not fire. Their engines would not start. Their communications reached no one. On Earth, Admiral Rodriguez watched the tactical display with a grim smile. "The devices worked," he said. "Every ship is disabled. How long until they recover?" Captain Chen asked. "Our scientists say at least 48 hours. The devices disrupted their quantum power cores. They will have to restart everything by hand." Captain Chen nodded. "Then we have 48 hours to change the shape of this war." Across human space, hidden doors opened. Asteroids split apart to reveal what was inside them. Moons cracked open like eggs. From the darkness of space where no sensors had ever looked, ships emerged. They were not beautiful ships. They were ugly, rough. They looked like they had been built in a hurry by people who cared more about function than form. Many of them were held together by welds that still glowed hot, but there were thousands of them. Admiral Chen Wei-lin sat in the command chair of the flagship Defiance. She was not related to Captain Sarah Chen, though they shared a name. She had been preparing for this moment for 30 years. She had built this fleet in secret. She had trained these crews in hidden facilities. She had waited in the shadows while humanity smiled at their alien visitors and pretended to be harmless. Now the waiting was over. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer said. "Target list confirmed," said another. 3 hegemony staging areas: Valoris Station, the Kethmar Depot, and Forward Base Omega. Distance to targets: Valoris Station is 40 light-years. Kethmar is 63. Omega is 112. Admiral Chen looked at the stars on her display. Somewhere out there, an empire that had ruled for 300,000 years was about to learn something new. "Launch the strike groups," she said. All of them, at once. 1,000 human ships jumped to faster than light speed. They vanished from the solar system like ghosts fading into the morning. The hegemony's disabled fleet still floated in the darkness, blind and deaf to what was coming. Valoris Station was the first target. It was a massive structure built around a gas giant, in a system the hegemony had controlled for 50,000 years. Hundreds of warships were docked there. Thousands of soldiers lived in its metal halls. It was a symbol of hegemony power. It had never been attacked, not once in its entire history. The human ships came out of nowhere. They were faster than the station's sensors expected. They were smaller than the warships they faced. And they fought in ways that made no sense to hegemony commanders. Instead of forming battle lines, they scattered. Instead of trading fire at long range, they dove close. Instead of protecting themselves, they attacked with everything they had. Commander Jax Morrison led the assault on the main docking ring. His ship, the Hornet, was small and quick. He flew it like it was part of his body. "Stay close," he told his squadron. "Hit them fast. Don't give them time to organize." Hegemony ships were waking up. Their crews rushed to battle stations. Their weapons came online. But they were slow. They were used to fighting species that feared them. They were not ready for humans. The Hornet dove between 2 massive battleships. Its guns blazed. Missiles streaked from its launchers. A hegemony destroyer tried to turn to face it, but Jax was already gone, twisting away into the chaos. "Target the fuel lines," he ordered. "Cut their supplies. Make them bleed." His squadron followed. They hit the station's fuel storage. They hit its repair bays. They hit its communication arrays. They did not try to destroy it completely. They did not have the firepower for that. But they hurt it. They hurt it badly. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out at 2 other locations. Human ships struck like wasps against giants. They took losses. Many pilots died. But they made every death count. At Kethmar Depot, a young pilot named Maria Santos flew her ship directly into a hegemony carrier's hangar bay. Her weapons were empty. Her shields were gone. She had 1 bomb left. "Tell my mother I love her," she said over the radio. Then she detonated. The carrier broke in half. 3 other hegemony ships caught in the explosion went dark and began to drift. Maria Santos was 23 years old. She was the first human hero of the war. She would not be the last. Back on Earth, Secretary General Vasquez watched the reports come in. The numbers were brutal. Humanity had lost 200 ships in the first strikes. 4,000 soldiers were dead or missing. But the hegemony had lost more than 1,000 vessels. Their three biggest staging areas were crippled. Their supply lines were cut. More importantly, the galaxy was watching. Vasquez stepped before the cameras one more time. Her face was tired but fierce. Behind her, a display showed the damage they had done. People of Earth and all human worlds, she said. Tonight, we struck back. Tonight, we showed the hegemony that we are not sheep waiting for slaughter. Tonight, we proved that free people will never bow to tyrants. She paused. The cameras caught every line on her face. This is just the beginning. The war ahead will be long. It will be hard. Many of us will not live to see its end. But I make you this promise. We will never stop fighting. We will never surrender. And one day, we will stand in the light of victory. And our children will know that their parents chose freedom over fear. The message went out to every human world. It went out to the hegemony as well. And it went out to every other species in the galaxy. The subject races who had lived under hegemony rule for millennia. The conquered peoples who had forgotten what resistance looked like. They heard Vasquez's words. They saw the burning hegemony stations. And something that had been dead for a very long time began to stir in their hearts. Hope. Ambassador Zethkal was finally rescued from his disabled ship 3 days after the attack. He was taken to a new flagship, one that had been rushed from deep hegemony space. His first order was to contact the Council of 47 Worlds. What is the situation? The Council asked through their quantum link. The humans have attacked, Zethkal said. His voice was flat. The light in his body was dim. They did not negotiate. They did not plead. They struck first, struck hard, and struck everywhere. Impossible. No species strikes first against the hegemony. They know what we are. They know. They do not care. Zethkal paused. I have studied 200 species. I have negotiated their surrender. I have watched them break. But these humans, they do not break. They burn instead. And they want to burn us with them. The council was silent for a long moment. Then we will do what we always do, they finally said. We will crush them. We will destroy their worlds. We will wipe their species from existence. And we will make sure no one ever follows their example. Yes, Zethkal agreed. We will try. But for the first time in his long life, he was not certain they would succeed. The war had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same. The first year of the war was blood and fire. The hegemony came with everything they had. 10,000 warships. 1 million soldiers. Weapons that could crack planets like eggs. They expected the war to last weeks. Perhaps a month if the humans were stubborn. They were wrong. Admiral Chen Wei-Lin knew the truth from the beginning. Humanity could not win a straight fight. The numbers were too bad. For every hegemony ship humanity destroyed, 10 more could take its place. For every system the humans defended, the hegemony could attack 3 others, so humanity did not fight a straight fight. We cannot hold territory, Chen told her commanders in the First War Council. If we try, we die. So we make them bleed for every inch they take. We make this war so expensive that they cannot afford to win it. The strategy was simple, brutal, effective. When the hegemony came for the colony on Proxima 4, the colonists did not wait for rescue. They rigged their own city to explode. When the hegemony troops landed, the city became their grave. 50,000 aliens died in an instant. The colony was lost, but the cost was paid. When the hegemony blockaded the shipyards of Titan, the workers did not surrender. They sealed themselves inside and kept building ships. For 6 months, they lived on recycled air and protein paste. They built 47 warships before the hegemony finally broke through. Those 47 ships escaped through a hole the workers blasted in the blockade. Most of the workers died, but their ships lived on. This was how humanity fought. Not with glory, not with honor, with teeth and nails and every dirty trick they could think of. The hegemony did not understand. General Vothren was the commander of the hegemony's invasion force. He had conquered 16 species before coming to human space. He knew war like he knew his own body. But these humans made no sense to him. They destroy their own cities rather than let us take them, he reported to the council. They sabotage their own ships. They fight from caves and tunnels after we bomb their surfaces. We kill them, and they keep fighting. We capture them, and they escape. We offer them mercy, and they spit in our faces. They are animals, the council replied. Break them like animals. I am trying. But when I break one, two more appear. When I capture one world, I need 1,000 soldiers to hold it. I am winning every battle, but I am losing this war. 3 years into the conflict, the hegemony had technically conquered 9 of humanity's 12 systems, but they could not hold them. Resistance fighters struck every night. Supply convoys vanished. Soldiers who left their bases did not return. The humans had a name for this kind of war. They called it guerrilla fighting. The hegemony had no word for it. They had never needed one. Captain Sarah Chen led one of the guerrilla fleets. Her squadron, the Shadow Wolves, operated from a hidden base in an asteroid field. They had 12 ships. All of them were damaged. All of them had been repaired so many times that nothing original remained. New target, her tactical officer said. Hegemony supply convoy. 15 transports. 8 escort ships. How far? 2 light hours. They will reach their destination in 6 hours. Sarah smiled. It was not a nice smile. Then let us introduce ourselves. The Shadow Wolves struck the convoy from 3 directions at once. They came out of warp in the middle of the formation. Their guns fired before the hegemony ships even knew they were there. Sarah's ship, the Whisper, targeted the lead escort. Her missiles hit its engines. Her guns tore through its hull. The ship died in seconds. Transport 4 is breaking formation, someone called out. It is running. Let it run. Focus on the escorts. Once they are gone, the transports cannot fight back. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, 6 escort ships were destroyed. 2 had fled. All 15 transports were captured. Sarah's crew boarded them quickly. They took the food. They took the weapons. They took the medical supplies. Anything they could not carry, they destroyed. Leave one transport, Sarah ordered. Let the crew live. Let them tell the hegemony what happened here. Why? Her first officer asked. Because fear is a weapon too. The surviving transport limped back to hegemony space. Its crew told their story. The story spread. Soon, every hegemony soldier knew about the human raiders who appeared from nowhere and vanished like smoke. Some soldiers began to refuse convoy duty. Others started seeing shadows in every asteroid field. The hegemony had conquered species that were stronger than humans. They had crushed species that were smarter, but they had never faced a species that simply refused to give up. 5 years into the war, the hegemony controlled most of human space on paper, but their losses were staggering. 100,000 ships destroyed, 3 million soldiers dead. Resources that should have been spent expanding the empire were being poured into this one small war, and the humans were not alone anymore. The Kethmari were the first to rise. They were a small species, conquered so long ago that they had forgotten what freedom tasted like. But they watched the humans fight. They saw that resistance was possible. One night, on 100 Kethmari worlds, the slaves attacked their masters. The hegemony crushed the rebellion quickly, but the damage was done. Other species saw the Kethmari fall, and they did not see defeat. They saw proof that the hegemony could be hurt. The blind of Exodus 7 rose next, then the Hive Collective of Andros, then a dozen others. Each rebellion was small, each was destroyed, but each one cost the hegemony soldiers and ships and time. Humanity had become a symbol, a fire that would not go out. Other species looked at the humans still fighting after 5 years and thought, if they can resist, why can't we? Secretary General Vasquez was old now. The war had aged her decades and years. Her hair was white, her face was lined, but her eyes still burned. How long can we hold? She asked Admiral Chen. I do not know, Chen admitted. We are running out of ships. We are running out of soldiers. We are running out of places to hide. But the hegemony is running out of patience. My spies tell me there are voices in their council calling for negotiation. Negotiation? Vasquez laughed bitterly. They wanted to manage our population. Now they want to talk. 7 years of war has cost them more than the previous 10,000. They did not think we were worth this price. No one ever does. Vasquez walked to her window. Outside, the sky was dark. Earth's shields blocked most light to prevent hegemony targeting. Her planet lived in permanent twilight now. Can we win? Honestly, no. We can make them pay. We can bleed them. We can maybe force a draw. But win? Destroy the hegemony? We are too small for that. Vasquez was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, Her voice was strange, distant, like she was seeing something no one else could see. What if we had a weapon that could change everything? Something that could reach across the stars and strike anywhere? Chen frowned. We have nothing like that. Not yet. Vasquez turned from the window. There was something in her face. Fear and hope mixed together. Come with me. There is something I need to show you. She led the Admiral down into the depths of Earth's command bunker. Past security checkpoints. Past guards who did not ask questions. Past doors that had not been opened in years. At the bottom, there was a room. Inside the room was a device. Chen looked at it. She did not understand what she was seeing, but she felt it. A wrongness in the air. A sense that something very dangerous was sleeping. What is this? She whispered. This, Vasquez said, is how we win the war, or how we end everything trying. The device hummed softly in the darkness. And somewhere, in the quantum foam of space itself, something that should not be possible waited to be born. The device was called Prometheus. Admiral Chen stood before it and felt cold. It was not a big device, just a sphere of dark metal, about the size of a human head. But looking at it hurt her eyes. The air around it seemed to bend and twist, like heat rising from summer pavement. What does it do? She asked. Secretary General Vasquez stood beside her. Her face was grim. It breaks the rules. All of them. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stepped forward. She was the lead scientist on the project. She had not slept in 3 days, and it showed. The hegemony believes faster than light weapons are impossible. They have spent 300,000 years trying to build one. They failed. We succeeded. How? By thinking differently. Dr. Tanaka touched a control panel. A hologram appeared showing a star system. The Prometheus device does not fire a beam or launch a missile. It destabilizes quantum bonds at a distance. We can target any point in space we have mapped. When we activate the device, everything at that point simply stops existing. Chen stared at the hologram. What range? We have tested it at 50 light years. In theory, the range is unlimited. Unlimited range. Instant effect. No defense possible. Chen understood now why Vasquez had brought her here. This was not a weapon. This was extinction in a box. If we have this, Chen said slowly, why haven't we used it? Because we are not monsters. Vasquez's voice was tired, so tired. I have spent 7 years sending soldiers to die. I have watched cities burn. I have read the names of the dead until I could not see through my tears, but I will not push a button and erase 1 billion lives. Not unless there is no other choice. And if there is no other choice? Vasquez did not answer. She did not need to. 3 months later, the choice was made. The hegemony launched their final offensive. Every ship they could spare, every soldier they could gather. They were tired of this war. Tired of losing. Tired of the humans who would not stay dead. They came with fire in their hearts and murder in their eyes. Admiral Chen's fleet met them at the edge of human space. The battle lasted 4 days. When it was over, humanity had no fleet left. Just scattered ships running for safety. Just burning wreckage drifting in the void. Chen herself was wounded. Her flagship was destroyed. She floated in an escape pod and watched the hegemony armada pass by, heading for Earth. It's over, her first officer said. He was bleeding from a head wound. They've won. No. Chen's voice was quiet but firm. They have not won until we are all dead. Send a message to Earth. Tell Vasquez, it's time. On Earth, Secretary General Vasquez received the message. She stood alone in the room with Prometheus. Her hand hovered over the activation control. 1 button. 1 touch. And she could end this war. End the hegemony's greatest shipyard. End 1 million lives in an instant. She thought about her grandchildren. 2 boys and a girl, living in a bunker somewhere deep underground. She thought about the soldiers who had died believing she would find a way to win. She thought about the other species watching from across the galaxy, hoping humanity would show them that empires could fall. She pressed the button. 4.7 light-years away, the great shipyard of Valoris Prime ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no fire, no drama. One moment, a structure that had taken 50,000 years to build hung in space around a dying star. The next moment, there was nothing. Just empty void where steel and stone and living beings had been. The hegemony fleet stopped. Every ship, Every soldier. They stopped and looked back at where their greatest fortress had been. They saw nothing. Admiral Zethkal was with the fleet. He had insisted on being present for humanity's final defeat. Now he stared at his sensors and felt something he had not felt in 1,000 years. Terror. All ships halt, he ordered. His voice cracked. Hold position. Do not advance. Sir? His officers looked confused. Victory was so close. Earth was just hours away. We have won. We just need to. Did you not see what just happened? Zethkal spun to face them. The light in his crystal body was wild and afraid. Valoris Prime is gone. Not destroyed. Gone. As if it never existed. They have a weapon that can reach across 5 light years and erase a shipyard with 1 million workers. Do you understand what that means? The officers were silent. They understood. If we attack Earth, Zethkal continued, they will use that weapon again. On our homeworlds. On our families. On everything we have ever built. We cannot defend against it. We cannot outrun it. We can only hope they choose not to use it. He turned to the communication console. Open a channel to Earth. Wide broadcast. Let every ship hear this. Vasquez's face appeared on his screen. She looked as tired as he felt. But there was steel in her eyes. Steel that had been forged in 7 years of fire. Ambassador, she said. I believe you received our message. I did. Zethkal's voice was careful. You could destroy us. All of us. You could end the hegemony in a day. Yes, but you have not. No. Vasquez leaned forward. We showed you what we can do. Now we choose not to do it again. We do not want your empire, Ambassador. We do not want revenge. We only want what we have always wanted. To live free among the stars. You have 30 days to respond. The transmission ended. Zethkal stood in the silence that followed. Sir, one of his officers said. What do? We go home. Zethkal's voice was flat. We go home and we tell the council that the war is over. Not because we lost, but because if we continue, we will lose everything. The hegemony fleet turned around. They left human space. They did not return. On Earth, people came out of their bunkers for the first time in years. They looked up at the sky and saw no enemy ships. They heard no sirens. They felt something strange on their faces. Sunlight. Real sunlight. For the first time in 7 years, Earth's shields were down. Secretary General Vasquez stood before the cameras one last time. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wet. But her voice was strong. People of Earth and all human worlds. The hegemony has retreated. Their fleet is leaving our space. We have received word that they wish to negotiate. She paused. The whole world was listening. We have won. Not the victory of conquest. Not the victory of revenge. But the victory of survival. We are still here. We are still free. And we will never kneel to anyone. Across human space, people began to cry. They hugged each other. They laughed and shouted and fell to their knees. 7 years of darkness was ending. The dawn was finally coming. But in her private quarters, Vasquez did not celebrate. She sat alone with a glass of water, too tired to drink. She thought about the button she had pressed. The 1,000,000 lives she had ended, the weapon that now sat in its vault, waiting for the next time humanity needed to kill a world. She had saved her species. But she wondered if she had lost something else. Something that could never be rebuilt. There was a knock on her door. Admiral Chen entered. She was bandaged and scarred, but she was alive. She had survived somehow. She always did. The hegemony sent a response. Chen said. They asked one question. What question? They asked. What are your terms? Vasquez looked up. For a moment, the tiredness left her eyes. Something else replaced it. Not joy. Not triumph. Something quieter. Something like hope. Get me my writing pad, she said. We have work to do. The ship called Eternal Mandate had been repaired. Ambassador Zethkal stood on its bridge and looked out at Earth. 7 years ago, he had come here to demand surrender. He had been certain of his power, certain of his victory, certain that these strange, small creatures would kneel like all the others. Now he was here to sign a treaty. And for the first time in his long life, he was not certain of anything. The human delegation arrived in a shuttle that was barely held together. Its paint was scratched. Its hull was dented. It looked like it had fought a war. Because it had. Secretary General Vasquez walked through the airlock. She was old now. Her hair was white. Her body was thin. But she walked like someone who had nothing left to fear. Behind her came Admiral Chen and a group of advisors. Zethkal met them in the great hall of the ship. It was the same room where he had delivered his ultimatum 7 years ago. The walls still showed the hologram projectors that had displayed dead worlds. The floor still held the marks where his soldiers had stood. "Secretary General," he said. "Welcome aboard." "Thank you, Ambassador." Vasquez looked around the room. Her eyes lingered on the hologram projectors. "This room brings back memories. Not pleasant ones, I imagine. No, but necessary ones." She turned to face him. "You asked for our terms. We have prepared them." Zethkal gestured toward a table. "Please, share them." They sat. Vasquez placed a simple document on the table. Just a few pages. Zethkal had expected a library of demands. "You may read it yourself," Vasquez said. "But I can summarize. We want 3 things." "Only 3? "Only 3. Vasquez held up one finger. "First, recognition. We are no longer a lesser species. We are equals in this galaxy. Our territory is ours. Our people are free. No hegemony ship enters our space without permission." Zethkal nodded slowly. "This is reasonable." "Second," Vasquez continued, "freedom for others. Any species currently under hegemony control may choose to leave. You will not stop them. You will not punish them. If they want independence, you let them go." The light in Zethkal's body flickered. This was harder. The hegemony had spent 300,000 years building its empire. Vasquez was asking him to let it fall apart, but he thought about the weapon that had erased Valoris Prime. He thought about what would happen if humanity used it again. "Continue," he said quietly. "Third," Vasquez finished, "a seat on the council. Not for humanity alone. For all species. A new council where every voice is heard. Where wars like this one can be prevented before they start." Zethkal was silent for a long time. The other hegemony representatives shifted nervously. They had prepared for crushing demands. They had expected humanity to want territory, resources, revenge. They had not expected this. "You could ask for anything," Zethkal finally said. "You have a weapon that could destroy us. You could demand our empire. You could enslave us as we tried to enslave you. Why don't you?" Vasquez smiled. It was a tired smile, but there was warmth in it. "Because that is not who we are. We did not fight this war for conquest. We fought because you gave us no choice. We are not better than you, Ambassador. We are just stubborn. Maybe a little stupid. We would rather build than destroy." She leaned forward. "But understand this. Threaten what we love, and we will burn the galaxy down around us. We showed you that. We showed everyone that. Choose to be our friends, and we will die for you. Choose to be our enemies." She shrugged. "Well, you have seen how that goes." Zethkal looked at the document. He looked at Vasquez. He looked at the humans behind her, scarred and tired but still standing. For 300,000 years, the hegemony had ruled through fear. They had crushed anyone who resisted. They had built an empire on bones and blood, and in 7 years, one small species had brought it all down. "I will sign," Zethkal said. The room was silent. Then, slowly, Vasquez nodded. "Thank you, Ambassador." The Treaty of Sol was signed that day. It changed everything. 17 species left the hegemony in the first year. Another 30 followed. Some chose to form their own nations. Others asked humanity for help building new governments. The old empire did not collapse, but it transformed. It became a federation instead of a tyranny. The new Galactic Council met for the first time on a space station built near Earth. Representatives from 100 species sat together in a great circular hall. At the center, a single light burned. It represented peace. It represented hope. It represented the future. Humanity took its place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as a people who had earned their freedom with blood and fire. The years passed. Wounds healed. Worlds rebuilt. Children were born who had never known war. 20 years after the Treaty of Sol, a ceremony was held on Earth. It was called Liberation Day. Every world that had fought against the hegemony celebrated it. But on Earth, it had special meaning. Secretary General Elena Vasquez was still alive. She was 90 years old now. Her body was weak. She used a chair that floated on silent motors, but her mind was sharp, and her eyes still burned. She went to a memorial on the coast of South America. It was a wall of names. Every human who had died in the war was written there. The wall stretched for 3 kilometers. It took hours to walk from one end to the other. Vasquez sat before it in the morning light. She had come here every year since the war ended. She had read the names until she knew them by heart. She had wept until she had no tears left. Today, she was not alone. A young alien approached her. It was a species she did not recognize. Small, with soft blue skin and wide eyes. It wore the uniform of the Galactic Council's diplomatic corps. "Madam Secretary," the young alien said. "May I ask you something?" Vasquez smiled. "Of course. Sit with me." The alien sat on the grass beside her chair. For a moment, they both looked at the wall of names. "I have studied your war," the alien said. "I have read the histories. I have watched the recordings. I know what happened. But I do not understand one thing." "What is that?" "Were you ever afraid?" The alien looked up at her with those wide eyes. "When you refused their ultimatum? When you knew what would come? Were you ever afraid?" Vasquez was quiet for a long moment. She reached out and touched the wall. Her fingers traced a name. Someone she had known. Someone she had sent to die. "Every moment of every day," she said. "I was terrified. I lay awake at night wondering if I was leading my people to extinction. I saw the dead in my dreams. I heard them asking me why. Why did you let us die? Why did you fight a war we could not win? Then how did you do it? How did you keep going?" Vasquez turned to face the young diplomat. For a moment, they saw something in her eyes. Something old and fierce and unbreakable. "Because fear is human," she said. "We have always been afraid. Afraid of the dark. Afraid of the unknown. Afraid of death. But we go into the dark anyway. We face the unknown. We fight, even knowing we might fall. Fear is not weakness. Fear is what we overcome to be strong." She looked back at the wall. "Remember that," she said, "and you will understand humanity. Forget it." And she smiled again. That old, tired, victorious smile. "Well, let us hope you never forget it." The young diplomat nodded slowly. They sat together in silence, watching the sun rise over the memorial. Somewhere above them, ships moved through the stars. Species that had once been enemies now worked side by side. A galaxy that had known only war for 300,000 years was learning, slowly, how to have peace. And, on a small blue world, at the edge of an ordinary galaxy, an old woman remembered the price of freedom. She whispered the names on the wall. One by one. Every name. Every soul. She would never forget them. None of them ever would. This was the legacy of humanity. Not the weapon they had built, not the war they had won, but the simple, stubborn truth that free people will never bow to tyranny. They had entered the galaxy as children. They had earned their place as equals, and whatever the future held, they would face it the same way they always had. Together, unbroken, human,